What?
Early.
Can we get rid of the snack bar now?
Yeah.
Kick off Cadbury's.
Welcome to Ratified. Today we're going to look at the 3 best backs that we have seen in our time playing the game. So look, I suppose I'll start it off, boys.
Reading that upside down.
Yeah, I am, yeah. I have to have my brother in there, Tomás O'Shea.
All right.
I'm going to go with Lee Keegan. And I think the best defender I've ever seen play the game, Seamus Moynihan. So they're my 3 backs. Okay, possibly a bit of nepotism with my brother Tomás, but look, we're talking about what I've seen. And I thought just the way he played the game, the way he just, like, I mean, you talk about the opposition, and I think the opposition used to always set up for Tomás. I used to think that they used to, like, have to have nearly a man marker on him when he'd go up the field. Lee Keegan, what impressed me so much about Lee Keegan was, like, we all know the way his attacking prowess, how he was able to get up the field. In latter years, we saw Lee Keegan playing the full-back line, and I think, like, man-marking role, which he was equally as good at. I remember Dublin actually put Kilkenny to try and nullify the threat of Keegan. They put Kilkenny in one of the league games. They put him into the full forward line, and I remember Keegan going back after him, and it was like as if it was just grand. We just get on with it, and he, for me, was just an incredible defender.
I remember on that, he obviously had some brilliant moments against our team. He would have man-marked Dermot Connolly. I remember playing a game against Donegal out there. Orla McNeilis, who was a really good link player for you guys. Keegan just latched on to him. I don't think he touched the ball in the whole match. He did it with Sean Kavanagh. I think it was 2013. He defended like a man-marking cornerback.
He went to midfield another game. Remember quarter-final against Enda Smith out here. Completely blotted him out of the game at one stage.
But do you remember, say, his rivalry with Dermot Connolly? Like, we like, look at the size of Connolly. I remember standing next to Connolly after one of the All-Irelands, and, like, he's as big as Murph there, like, a big man, like. And, like, Keegan was able to physically take him on, and he was able to match him toe for toe. And, like, I mean, what turned out to be Dublin's probably best hand, Dermot Connolly, was actually probably Mayo's best attribute, in that Keegan was able to nullify that threat. I just thought he was an incredible defender. And, like, for players to be able to play, not everyone can do that, playing the half-back line and playing the full-back line. I mean, you look at, say, I've seen it in the past, players that have tried to go into the full-back line playing, and it's a completely different kettle of fish.
The range of skill he had to be able to do a man-marking role on the best players in the country at the time and execute it, and 9 times out of 10 win that battle, and then have the skill set, a completely different skill set in terms of attacking, scoring, long-range points, goals, and he was exceptional at that as well. It was nearly the complete Gaelic football player. And you talk to a lot of that Mayo team, and they had some exceptional players. Every single one of them would say Lee Keegan was the man.
In talking about that, like, say, like, I've mentioned Tomás, Lee Keegan and Seamus Moynihan. For me, Seamus Moynihan is by far, not alone, the best defender I've ever seen play the game. I'd go so far as to say he's probably one of the best footballers I've ever seen.
What was it about him? What was it?
Like,
what was it?
Geez, you know what, Murph? I remember, say, the West Kerry car, as we call it. Paddy was the manager. You had Dara, you had Darrow Canada, you had Aidan McArlt, you had Tomás, and then I was on the scene in 01, and we were playing Meath in a challenge game. Meath were excellent at the time, and I remember Paddy telling me, he said, go in there with Moynihan, he's driving, go in with Moynihan, and he says, just be a sponge, learn everything you can from him. And I was so lucky, lads. My first year on the team, I was cornerback, Moynihan was fullback. Remember now, Moynihan's best position was probably centre-back.
He inspired from the full-back line, didn't he?
But, like, I mean, Barry O'Shea, an outstanding fullback, tore his cruciate in, I think it was 99 league against Roscommon, and Paddy puts Moynihan back fullback. Like, the whole county were giving out that Seamus Moynihan, our best player, was now playing fullback. And then he goes on that year and he becomes Footballer of the Year.
Footballer of the Year, wasn't he?
Like, the games he had out here against Oisin McConville in the semi-final, the draw and the replay. Oisin McConville was Armagh's top player. And, like, Moynihan was just excelling. The All-Ireland final against Galway, Pádraig Joyce, possibly in line for Player of the Year. Moynihan just totally nullified him. And he was just, Moynihan was just another
if
level.
you're getting Footballer of the Year from full-back,
Yeah.
you're going well.
You are, yeah.
You got it, did you?
I did, yeah. But look, we
Why'd you
don't
take
talk
that? You
about
take that up. You take that up for her. Don't give
sort
him
me
that
out
later.
later,
buy
yeah,
a-
I was looking
I'll buy
at
a
it straight
pint
away.
later.
Go on
Buy a
then.
pint
50
later.
quid.
Straight on to your defenders then. So
My three, I've gone with Lee Keegan as well. I've gone with Seamus Moynihan as well. And I've mixed it up. I've left the Beryl Tomas out because I've went for James McCarthy.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously Marc has explained everything about Tomas and the values he had as well. But for me, I think just over this past 10, 12 years, James McCarthy, what he has done in arguably the greatest team of all time, as a defender, as a midfielder, as a leader, as someone who has set high standards, maintained them, and just someone who always sort of seems like he's thinking about the bigger picture all the time. And if you're thinking that way, that brings its own pressures, but it never seems like it, never seems to faze him. And I suppose the biggest compliment you can pay him is whenever you were under pressure, and maybe some of them All-Ireland finals against Mayo or the big games against Dublin, he always chipped up with the scores late on. Whenever a game was at its peak, he had the ability to get the crucial scores whenever they were needed. And Keegan, similar to what you said yourself, as someone who was basically just an attacking wing half-back, for him to have the ability to not change at all in terms of how he attacked, goals in All-Ireland finals, the points off the outside of the boot, yet still go back and man mark. Like, I know myself, your mindset is totally different whenever you're given a job to do. You go away from what you're really good at, but he just had the ability to lock a player down and still not take away from what the main strengths of his game were. And I remember asking Tony McEntee, who obviously would have been coaching him for a certain period of time, and that there, and he said, Aaron, he would just put no thought into it. Where I was an overthinker, I would be day and night, what am I going to do, trying to tick every box. Apparently he was just like, he'd turn up and he'd train hard and that, but he just went out and did his job. I needed to mark that man, and I needed to try and get a score. And
Score 3 points from play.
it sounds simplistic.
But
Aaron, say that.
like, you're dead right. But just, can I go back to McCarthy? Because obviously, you think about it, and I have my Kerry hat on, but thinking of McCarthy, like, we spoke about Moynihan. Like, McCarthy marked Tommy Walsh in the 2019 All-Ireland fullback.
Line,
Then he's played a lot of his career midfield.
Yep.
He's played in the half-back line.
All-star midfield.
McCarthy is kind of like Moynihan-esque in that he could do it all. He could play anywhere. What a footballer! 9 All-Ireland medals. I mean, and like, for it to finish off then, and I'm not saying it's finished by any means, but to lift the Sam Maguire, as
It was fitting.
Yeah.
it was
fitting
fitting.
for him.
It was
so
fitting, and like, you just get the feeling about McCarthy that he's just a grounded, good guy. Like, on the field, he'd tear into you. You saw him there in the All-Ireland final
magic.
last year,
He's magic,
and the Kerry people giving out about him because he was.
he plays on the edge.
But
plays on the edge, but
that's
that's what you want.
why he's in these conversations.
Correct, yeah.
Because we'll say if you're giving us Paddy tells you to be a sponge, like, or what did you learn, or what was mine? Because I suppose, he's gone a few years. Like, as a trainer, like, I've heard stories about him. How the levels he pushed himself to, or the competitiveness that he had. Like, what was mine like as someone in training, as a young person that you were coming in, that you're trying to feed off, you're trying to learn off?
Yeah, like, I mean, I would have come across Moynihan first, seen him in the 1992 Munster final, the famous Munster final that Kerry lost to Clare. And Moynihan just did his leaving cert in the Sem in Killarney, and he was playing midfield for Kerry. And like, to start midfield with Jack O'Shea, and then to lose that game, and like, but then for him to come on, and like, he single-handedly, you could nearly say, won an All-Ireland Schools All-Ireland final for the Sem from midfield, and like, he just fulfilled everything that was said about him at a young age, and like, then to come along and just be that stopgap. And he played in a lot of very poor Kerry teams. So Kerry hadn't won an All-Ireland between 86 and 97, and Moynihan was coming along in a period, and he was the next great hope. But then I would have seen him towards the end of his career, and the injuries that he had, and like, talk about after training, and his ankle inside in a bucket of ice for a half an hour, and his back injuries. And I remember him coming back in 0-5, and in the final against Tyrone, he wasn't himself that day. He was clearly injured, but like, He wanted to give it one more year. He came back in 06, broke down in early 06, worked a lot with Jerkeen in terms of his core, getting his body right. Came back, won an All-Star in his last year playing centre back. Just incredible footballer, and like just did everything. And he was a real team player. He was like, he minded all of us, like, you know, and you just learned off this guy. You know, he was a class act.
So, well, instead of us just talking about defenders and people who we were looking at, usually the boys were getting marked by them. So, you know, how complimentary are you going to be, or how much did you enjoy these boys that we're speaking about here?
I had Tomas in as well, and I didn't have Macker in. It's funny just on James and you talking to Seamus Moynihan as well, and chatting to Mayo guys about Lee Keegan. You get a real sense about the value of a player by his teammates. The supporters and from the outside you look in and you see the exceptional stuff, performances on the pitch, but just the aftermath of last year's All-Ireland was a very emotional one for Dublin, for everyone involved in the current team, and chatting to the guys. That was nearly as important or as cherished a win as anything that had gone before. And a big part of that was James was captain. And there's probably a debate. Dublin's been fortunate over the last decade or more to have some exceptional players, but like you ask any of his teammates, Macker is absolutely cherished as a teammate. Probably slightly different from Moynihan in terms of he wouldn't be a big man for kind of chatting about things. Murphy would have played with him at DCU, wouldn't he? Would know him well enough as well. But talk about a guy who just 110% every single training session, relentless from, you know, it's easy for guys, maybe a few miles on the clocks, you come back a couple of months later, Mac could be there first training session season with maybe the Oberon Cup team or young lads, and he is just going flat to the mat, relentless. He's adored by his teammates for that exact reason. When the chips were down many times in the biggest games, he's marking Aidan O'Shea, he gets man of the match in the 17 final at midfield, he's dropping into the full back line to pick up Tommy Walsh or whoever, Donaghy, he's playing wing back, getting up kicking scores. He's an inspirational figure for his own teammates, never mind supporters, you know, so he is an exceptional player, but I didn't put him in. And I put Tomas in. But I couldn't let it go without, but I put Tomas in.
Going to get
Some teeing up.
My three, where Tomas was one, and I put Tomas in that kind of a attacking half-back role. I feel he was nearly one of the first players to really establish that position. And Philip Jordan, kind of maybe a year or two later with Tyrone, was exceptional at it. Aaron, you came in with Armagh, very similar role. Lee Keegan, Macker himself. I think Tomas was one of the first players to really bring that in. And it's kind of an age thing. Me and Murph are kind of similar ages. When you're 10 or 11 years of age, you're really becoming engrossed in Gaelic football, and you're watching every single match at TG Car or the Sunday game or whatever. And Tomas was just this exciting player to watch. It was
funny you say that about Tomas, about being the first player to do that, because
I'm sure maybe he wasn't, but in my
when
head,
Paddy was manager,
like
Paddy had a kind of a mantra: your wing back, that's your spot. You mark your man, you beat your man, and that's your job done. Our game is we move the ball through the lines, we get the ball up the field, and Tomas and Paddy give out to Tomas for going up the field, and he felt probably like that he was leaving the full back line exposed. And Tomas would turn to Paddy and say, "What are you talking about? You just love going up the field yourself as a player." Like
he didn't want them showing up.
What about 82 when you kicked 2 points against Offaly in the final? And Paddy didn't know.
Never said it again.
Yeah, so yeah,
but it was that. That's why I had Tomas in. Those guys that came along after, exceptional players. I'd Conor Gormley in from Tyrone.
Great player.
Very good.
Again, that was kind of my formative years of kind of really watching, kind of understanding the tactics around senior football, and that Tyrone team we've spoken with them in other shows as well. A dominant force, and their defensive system and what they implemented was an incredible system, very difficult to play against. But I thought he was probably their best defender. Now Ricey would have played in the full back line and maybe the more man-to-man stuff, but Gormley was equally adept at doing that. I remember playing a league game out here. It would have been 07, and really it was one of the first games under lights in Croke Park. It was a full house, it was Dublin Tyrone, and he man-marked Alan Brogan. Alan was Dublin's best player at the time, and I just watched it, and he won that battle. He got the better of him, but it was just a masterclass of, talk about a horrible defender to play against.
It was a lot like Lee Keegan in terms of he could do the dirty work,
Yeah.
but then he was so good on the ball. You can picture him like his head's up, he's picking out a pass, he can go up and get a score
He
whenever
was
it's needed.
exceptional in that system. He was like, I always got that sense from, it was a brilliant Tyrone team and he was so crucial to it. And then obviously, again, the final against you guys, the block on Stevie McDonald.
Incredible.
That's just an amazing...
That's a defining moment, really,
moment.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And again, you're just thinking, what a play. What a play to make.
But he was incredibly smart.
Yeah.
Like, he was
Yeah.
incredible. Do you know those defenders that, I'll go toe-to-toe with you and man mark you, or mark you in front a wee bit, because that ball's coming in long at times. He was very, very intelligent. And I think all those defenders we speak about, they're horrible to play against, but the ones that I always said I struggled with wasn't so much the ones that were living within you, but were smart.
Yeah.
They were really, really
He was
smart.
cute as a fox,
Knew how
yeah.
to play you, like, and
He had that edge.
Yeah.
He had the edge, in fairness.
And my last one is actually a dub. And I've gone for Mick Fitzsimons.
Oh, yeah.
Reason being, Fitzy's my age, didn't have a massive underage career with Dublin, didn't play minor. I think he might have been on an under-21 squad. And even at the start of kind of Jim Gavin's reign, he played in 11, he was marking Gooch. So he was man-marking Kerry's best player in 2011 in the All-Ireland final. And
Man-marking Kerry's best player in the All-Ireland National.
12 years later, he's man-marking Kerry's best forward again. The longevity of doing what he's done, I would have been on the end. He used to mark me in training and it was hell. It just didn't suit me. His speed, his agility, and probably different from maybe a Keegan or Tomas or James McCarthy. Fitzy had no interest in doing anything else.
Yeah, just do his job.
And I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I would have liked a defender kind of creeping up and he can find a cute, find a bit of space. Fitzy was coming out and goes, I am going to deal with you.
Yeah.
And he was relentless.
Isn't it unbelievable?
Relentless.
That's what he gets his kick out of. So like,
Yeah.
say
Loves
Tomas or
I couldn't
yourself,
think of that
you
worse.
wanted to go up and go, he just wants to stop you from touching the ball.
But isn't it?
That's his 1-5. Like,
But it's incredible. I think since the Marc has come in, nobody wants to be a defender. Nobody wants to be a back anymore. But like,
Fitzy is a defender.
he's a defender. He's
core.
exactly that.
It's a craft with him, like it really, really is. Like you can't say he's the most gracious of movers. Like, he doesn't look a really, he's his legs everywhere. But the one thing about them really good inside defenders, I hit it with Marc do once or twice too. Their footwork is phenomenal. Yeah. They're
Agility.
never slipping, sliding, jumping. Like as a forward, what you want to do is try and get the ball, take on your man. Hopefully the defender slips or gets away.
Yeah.
The really good ones are always there. When you're taking the shot, they're always there at the last minute. You look at some, there was a lot made of Clifford's, getting a lot of shots away last year in the final, But Fitzsimons is always there.
He was there.
Always there, isn't he? A hand,
Arm,
a fingernail,
a
whatever it is,
leg, an ankle. His agility was incredible. And it's funny, he got man of the match in the 2016 replay when we bet Mayo. And this is classic Fitzy. One of our final scores, Bernard Brogan actually gets it. We kind of break through. Mayo are pushed up trying to get a score, and we were 0.2 up. And Fitzy breaks through, and I swear to God, the goal is there. There's no one near him. There's no Mayo defenders. They're all up the pitch. And Fitzy's like on the 14 essentially. And it's like, just clip it over. And he's like, I'm not shooting. He's like, he can literally run into the net with it. And he's looking around. He just doesn't want to shoot. It's just not in his head. He's like, this is not where I should be. He's looking around. And of course, Burno kind of pops out of somewhere and literally turns away from goal and hand passes it to him. And then just sprints back to defend again. It's his passion, his mentality. You said it. He's not interested in that. He's interested in, what's my job for the team? This guy. And invariably, it was always their guy. I'm going to mark him. To do what he did last year at an older age, and the build up to that, Clifford, was massive pressure and the focus on that and how are Dublin going to, all the time, how are Dublin going to stop this guy? And it was just like, they're going to put Fitzy on him and watch. Incredible.
What about you, Murph?
It's a tough one. I hate trying to rank great. There's great players. Like, you can't disagree with anything that Jesus said there, and I hate trying to rank them. But anyway, I'll give it a go.
But you have to.
After
Go ahead, you have to.
That is the point.
It's as simple as that, yeah.
Do you want to shoot off?
Tomas is on it for me too. I feel that, how are you feeling with all these Tomas shouts?
I know, do you know
You
what?
got a player of the year show from Aaron.
Yeah.
He teed that up.
I played at 2, he played right outside me, 5.
Did you play in the same wing a lot of the time?
Same wing, yeah. So.
I have a picture every time I think of Tomas O'Shea. I think of just the still frame a photo of the solo, the left hand to right foot, and just a perfect big stride and running forward, you know. But beautiful players, all of these defenders. The kind of the bits that I always looked and was lucky enough to share the field, thought they're competitive animals. They're beautifully skilled. They're really smart and clever. But in battles, they're boys that you would want to be on a pitch with, you know, because they're competitive. They're really, really competitive animals, and that's what they all have. I said, Tomas down, giving a nod to my own one from sharing a dressing with him so long, was Carl Lacey. I just thought he...
the ball he put into you for the goal.
2012.
I keep thinking of Lacey's highlights reel, similar to potentially Keegan and the rest. It could be so varied. It could be, he started as a cornerback when we were
won All-Stars
struggling
as a
a cornerback. He took players out of the game, a cornerback, again when we were struggling, kept them scoreless, things like that. Developed out to number 6. Jim seen something with him at number 6. He became he just started bombing at number 6, taking players out of the game, man marking and going the other way. Won 4 All-Stars Player of the Year, and to me he just could do it all, and probably just caught him a wee bit towards the tail end. But through the duration, for me, he was phenomenal and competitive. And again, going back to it, all these defenders, footwork exceptional. Just never falling, slipping, sliding. Like you would watch games now, lads, and you're looking at defenders who are just sometimes all over the place. He had it.
He was a class act.
The last one for me, McCarthy, Keegan, and I'm putting in McCaffrey too. Jack McCaffrey, and the reason being, I think I keep thinking of him was just X factor. Like he probably able to do things that all the people we've spoken about here, defenders so far, he had a specific skill set I don't think any of them had, with that just sheer raw pace. Unbelievable. Keegan has pace, McCarthy has pace,
Different.
Tomas O'Shea has pace, Carl Lacey has pace, Seamus Moynihan, Marc O'Shea, all have pace. This fella has a new level of
different
pace.
gear, yeah.
If I seen him taking off and you're chasing, you'd just be shouting, "Your man!" Someone's coming across.
But then when he got up
to
like the other end of the field, he was able to get goals. He was able to he had the composure to put that ball into the back of the net.
1-3 in the 2019 final.
He really developed his skill set.
Yeah.
I felt
No,
the
he
longer at the start. It sounds a bit ludicrous. He was a one-trick pony. It was just go. But then I felt
Not a bad trick to have.
Oh, I know, I understand that,
It's
but
nice.
I'm saying that in a complimentary way. It was you're talking about, like, he kicked points off left and right, fine,
out
and
here,
that's
yeah.
going for the 5 in a row. Like, he was
But that final, that was obviously a go-to kick out. Do you remember the ball
the
where
set
Brian
play.
Howard?
It was, yeah.
Brian Howard wins that ball, and he's gone. He's gone. Like that was a training
Everyone
ground exercise.
get out of the way.
We spent a lot of time doing set plays. I'm sure we all did in our teams, and very rarely they come off. And you could spend, and we did nights, hours, weeks. We just felt the way Kerry were going to play. We kind of knew what they were going to do because they were very obsessed with Stephen's kickouts, and we had Howie, basically an extra midfielder nearly, and Jack. And I've never seen it work to an absolute T as that goal, and it was one of the only times. But it was.
Darren's point about going long.
Going long.
Go long.
Yeah,
That was the risk.
going long. So for me, them 3, McCarthy, Keegan, McCaffrey,